Another blood-red sunset and yet another moon face, and still another 100 miles to my next resting place. Driving down the road, eyes on the horizon. Within my car, I'm all alone, but feeling good and feeling strong, knowing that this path I'm on brings me to myself. I'm driving.
Hello and welcome to Spirit Sherpa, the show that helps and encourages you on your journey to unlock your magic mojo. If you're new to this type of work, please start with episode 1. If you're an intermediate student, please start with episode 98. And if you are advanced, please start with episode 200. I'm Jules, your co-host, and with me as always to share her insight and wisdom is the spirit doctor herself, Kelly Sparta. Hello, Kelly.
Hey, Jules. We're having
How's
a day.
it shake-a-laking?
Shake-a-laking.
Yes.
Well, I got up freak early this morning, and then had people over for breakfast. So this is how Panama works. Okay, so we're going to talk about this. So I have been wanting to have a new photo shoot done since I've dropped so much weight, and I live in Panama now, and I just haven't had a photo shoot done in a while. So it took me a year to figure out who could actually do this from the time I started looking. And turns out that it's a friend of mine's husband. He does excellent photos. And, so we had him come to the house. Well, I went to their house last time, but Jeff had not gotten my soy milk for the previous 2 days. And so therefore my hot flashes were back. And so I showed up to their house, which has no air conditioning, and I had sweat through my hair, and it just did not stop for the entire photo shoot. I was just a sweaty mess for the whole photo shoot. And he gave me the best pictures he could give me, but they were not, it was a sweaty mess, right? And so, we did another shoot this time. And they came to my house this time because we have air conditioning. And to make it worth their while to pack up all of his shit to come to my house, I said, well, we'll just make breakfast for you. And so Jeff made breakfast, and, so we had them over early to do breakfast before the photo shoot and then the photo shoot. And of course, we're going inside and outside. And so the humidity is, you were talking before we got on the call, on the podcast, you were talking about how my hair was a little more curly than usual. I'm like, yes, I was outside in the humidity because it rained last night which doesn't happen very often in the dry season. And so it was like a lot of rain, and then it was humid today. So my hair is curly when it's humid, and it's not curly when it's not. So you can always tell how humid the room was based on how curly my hair is. But the upshot is that I spent the morning, going in and out of clothes and playing model and all the things. And little known fact is I had wanted to be a model when I was in high school, and actually went out to do a modeling. I went out on an interview or an audition or whatever the hell they call it. And the guy looked at me and said, your upper lip is too thin. And he found something else wrong with me and something else wrong with me. And I was like, I got back from that and I was like, I am going to hate my body in 3 months if I continue down this path. I'm done. And that was it. I was like, nope, not doing this. My cousin, on the other hand, was modeled for many, many years. So she did that. But I was like, nope, I'm good. I'm done. So that is why Kelly did not become a model. There you go. Now you know why I'm a shaman.
I actually did modeling back in the day a little bit. I was on Mopar magazine, cover girl and centerfold. So closed.
What kind of centerfold?
It's right.
She heard me.
It was Mopar magazine. Yeah. Mopar magazine. And it was a winter shot, and I was, I forgot what kind of car it was. But if I remember the issue and all that, we'll put that in the show notes. But yeah, like little known fact, I was about 110 pounds dripping weight back then.
I was more than that, but I'm much taller than you. So I was about 145, but I'm 5'9". So, that was still pretty skinny. I was skinny enough that
I'm like
my
5'3"
teachers
and a
were
half.
worrying. Yeah. My teachers were worried I was anorexic. So yeah, that's how skinny I was. So, which of course the modeling agency was like, okay, yeah, you're fine. Don't gain any weight. It's like just messed up, but that's what it was back then. It was the 80s, man. So yeah. So I started my morning with a photo shoot, and tomorrow a festival starts here in town that runs, or no, today a festival starts here in town called the Flower and Coffee Festival. It is in town for 10 days, and our town swells in size to like double or triple its normal size, which is significant because we only have 25,000 people most of the time. And we end up with like 50, 60,000 when the festival is happening, which means that most people who live here don't go into town for those 10 days because we're like, the traffic's going to be a nightmare. It's going to suck. It's going to take forever to get anywhere. A lot of the businesses are going to be closed because it's a nightmare and nobody who's local goes into town. And so, I made plans with a friend yesterday who wants to go to the festival. She hasn't been to it before. And so Jeff and I and she are going to the festival on the one day that I have to go into town because I'm running karaoke that night. And so we're going to go early so we can go do the festival and then have dinner, and then I can run karaoke, and then we can fight the traffic to get out. But yeah, that's the plan. So much fun, right? I'm hoping that if we go in early enough, I'll be able to get good parking. So because Panamanians are very late night people. So like they'll come out at like 9 o'clock at night to start their evening. 9 or 10 is when they start their evening. And then they go until like 4 or 5 in the morning. And so I'm hoping that if we get there at like 3, 4 o'clock, that we'll be able to get good parking. We'll walk across to the festival, be able to walk back and avoid trying to get across the bridge to get back, because that's, so much entertainment. But they have beautiful flower displays and orchids. And I mean, it's amazing. And they have all kinds of crafts that people do. And people come in from Guatemala, they come up from Colombia, they come up from Peru, and they bring all their handcrafted wares. And it's really quite beautiful. So yeah, so it's a cluster for the town. But if you're going and you're not trying to drive, it's not bad. So it's a lovely event. And, there's a lot of stuff to do there. So, it's fun. And then, so, life has been very interesting. I've been to 2 birthday parties in the last, I went to a Panamanian birthday party Jeff and I went on Tuesday. One of my friends is Panamanian, and everybody there was Panamanian except for the 2 of us. And so Spanish was being spoken pretty much the whole time. And we're just like, we're keeping up as much as we can. We're still learning. Jeff's better than I am. But it was interesting to see the format of the party and how that went and what was done and how like everybody went around the table and talked about what their connection to the birthday girl was, and how they met her and what they love about her. And then there was a benediction by her pastor. Her minister had come and did a benediction over the party. And then everybody took pictures with her in front of the happy birthday sign next to the birthday cake. And then we had cake and everybody went home. So there was food in there too. But yeah, during the talking stage. But yeah, it was very interesting.
Now this was for an adult birthday?
Yeah.
That's neat. That's very different than our birthday parties.
Yeah. So, and it happened to fall on Martyrs Day here, which is it's a holiday, and it's actually a dry holiday. So you cannot serve alcohol at all on Martyrs Day. And if a restaurant is found to be serving alcohol on that day, they get a $50,000 fine. And if you are walking around the streets with alcohol on that day, it's a $500 fine. So they are dead serious about their no alcohol rule. In fact, it starts at midnight the night of. And so when I was running karaoke on Monday night, it started on Tuesday. We actually closed the bar down a half an hour early in order to make sure that no one still had alcohol in their hands when midnight hit. That's how dead serious they are about it. So yeah, it's some big stuff, right? Yeah. So yeah, it was very interesting to know that. They also make dry days on days that they do election days. So you're not allowed to be drunk and vote. Go figure. The U.S. never considered that. US
like
is like,
that.
I don't care. You got your ID. Go do whatever the hell you want. You could be totally fucked up. Nobody cares. But yeah, here they're not allowed.
I never
to
even
alcohol.
considered that.
Never occurred to me, but that's the deal. And I'm like, there's a lot of things Panama does right that we don't think about. So yeah, very interesting.
Well, see, to me, that would be common sense that you don't get drunk and then go vote. That would be common sense to me, but hey, I might be in the minority.
Have you ever noticed that common sense is less and less common?
Yes. Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
That's a whole podcast to itself.
Yeah, we're not going to go there today. No, I need to be in a much more balanced place.
We're
for that.
not.
Yeah,
Yes.
I've been out
we're going to talk
partying
about
with
some
friends
earth
for-
energies.
Yes. Yeah, I've been partying with friends too much for the last few days to have that conversation. I am underslept. You do not want to know what I have to say about that. So we're going to talk about earth energies, chakras, vortices or vortexes, depending on how you pronounce it, and the Earth's energy grid. We're going to talk about all these things today. We're only 12 minutes into the episode. Why the fuck not, right? Let me start with the energy grid because that's sort of the crucial piece, right? And when I say grid, I'm not really talking a grid, right? I'm talking about okay. All right. I am talking about a grid and I'm not talking about a grid. So there's something else that's not in the title that we need to talk about is what I'm saying. So there is an energy grid for the planet, just like there's an energy grid for anything. But there's also the ley lines. So the ley lines work like veins and arteries do in the body. So the positive ley lines are bringing positive energy out into the world, and the negative ley lines are bringing in all the crap back to be composted, right? So there's a circulation system, right? And it works much like veins and arteries in the body do. One goes in one direction, one goes in the other, right? And so when you are looking at any property, you have to look at the ley lines. And we did an entire episode on ley lines, so I'm not going to go deep into this on here because we've already done an episode on that. So go find that if that's exciting for you. But we're going to talk about the energy grid and the vortexes or vortices and the earth chakras and where those exist and whatnot. Think of the earth as a person. I mean, it's not really a person, but it has chakras, much like a person has chakras. And so, those chakras actually, one of the things that was happening in the 2012 era is that the chakras were moving. And that was actually part of some of the magnetic pole shift that's been happening. And so, I can't remember where everything is. You're going to have to go look it up on Google. I don't remember where they all are. But one of the chakras moved from Tibet to, I think, Brazil in that time frame. And so as the magnetic poles shift, the energies of the body of the earth realign, and therefore the chakras move because the energy system of the earth is tied into the magnetic fields, magnetic poles. Okay. And so when the magnetic poles shift, the chakras shift. And so that's probably going to continue because according to my research, all of, the things that I just happen to come across. I don't do deep research. The things I've come across say that the magnetic poles are still in flux and could shift dramatically at any moment. And so, the chakra system of the earth is going to be shifting, it probably shifts on an ongoing basis, honestly. But so the chakras are where you can go to have different experiences of those energies, right? So if you're in the Earth's second chakra, then you'll be in your creative center, in your sensuality center, in your passion center, all of that. And so, if you are looking to really activate a particular chakra for yourself or a particular aspect of yourself, going to the place on the earth that chakra is in that moment is one of the best ways to tap into that energy at a larger scale than yourself, right? And so there's that. Now, energy vortexes or vortices, depending on whether you're doing English or plural or Latin plural, those are where the earth has more energy than in other places. And so the place most people think about with this is Sedona, Arizona, right? Because they've got all sorts of different energy vortexes there. And so, it's just a place where the energy is higher than it is elsewhere. Now, when I went to Sedona with a friend of mine in 1998, I did not experience a huge difference in energy in any of the vortexes that we visited. But, there was more energy, but it didn't feel significant to me, right? Because I was comparing it to the energy that the 5 of us who were in circle at the time would raise just between the 5 of us. And I was comparing it to the energy vortex and saying, oh, well, at least it should be that much. It's the whole earth, right? And it was not nearly as much energy as the 5 of us would raise. Now, if the 5 of us had been there to raise energy in the vortex, would that have been amazing? Yes. Okay. Because we would have been accessing that energy and improving that energy and whatever. But, so don't have huge expectations is what I'm saying. If you go to visit these things, some people have amazing experiences. I was not one of those people. So, it may depend on the person and whether or not the vortex speaks to them and it, or it could just be that different vortexes have different levels. I didn't go out to all of them. I only went to 2 or 3, but, but a vortex can show up in a variety of different places and in a variety of different ways. Right. So, the vortexes in Sedona are naturally formed vortexes, and those are pretty big, right? But I've also seen energy vortexes in people's houses, and those can be problematic. They can be problematic. They can be interesting. They're bringing energy in, and if you have your house warded, it's going to skip right through the vortex. Vortex is going to let things in that your wards are not going to touch unless you put it specifically over the vortex and make sure that that's included in the ward. If you don't know the vortex is there, and you could have a reason why your wards aren't working. So there are vortexes, and then there are portals. And, those are different for warding purposes. We're not going to talk about portals today, but the vortexes are bringing in energy. Now, you can also connect vortexes to energetics on the astral. That's a whole nother thing. Please don't do that. And if you don't know what you're doing, it's a good way to screw yourself up and hurt yourself and other people. So please don't do that. I actually learned something about that from Kathy recently that I didn't know, and I would have hurt something if I had done it the way I had planned. So, because she's actually worked with it and I haven't. So, when I tell you, please don't do it, you'll hurt yourself. I'm serious. So when we're looking at vortexes, it's simply just adding energy. Okay, that's the thing about a vortex is that it's a higher energy state because it's pulling energy in from somewhere else. Okay, Now, where that somewhere else is different based on the vortex and, all the things. But yes. So we've covered chakras and we've covered vortexes. Now I want to talk about the energy grid. Okay. Because every structure on the physical has an energy grid associated with it. And so a building, the earth, any major structure is going to have an energy grid. And that energy grid is how the energy flows through the structure. And so when you're dealing with the energy grid of the earth, you're dealing with things like, how does the earth clear its own energy field? How does it move energy through its surface? How does it, where do things get bound up, right? So it's how do I equate this to a person? It's kind of like the aura, but there's more structure to it than an aura has, okay? So you can look at the energy grid of a space. So for instance, years and years ago, I was in a bay in, I don't know, somewhere on the East Coast. I don't remember, probably somewhere in Rhode Island, I think. But I was at a bay in Rhode Island and the energy was just awful. It's just stuck and awful. And I was sitting there going, wow, this is not right. This is not what a natural space should feel like, right? Something had gummed up the energy in that grid that part of the grid. And so I started working with the energy of the grid and the water and moving that energy through and allowing the negative energy to clear and bringing in positive energy and getting things moving. And it had gotten gummed up, right? And then once I did that, the energy of the entire bay started to clear. And once it was moving, it was self-sustaining after that. I didn't have to complete the process. The process completed itself, right? Because the grid is meant to have movement through it. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. So if the earth has energy moving, we as beings have energy moving. To me, it makes complete sense that the things would have energy moving also.
Yes. And so that's the situation. So when something feels, okay, so I'm going to try and define this for you guys very clearly so that you're not confusing it with other things. So you can be on land and have it feel icky. And the icky could be residue from some nastiness that happened on the land. It could be icky in the form of their entities on the land. It could be icky in the form of you are not welcome on the land because you've crossed over a ward and you're like feeling that, but that will also feel sort of aggressive. The energy that I'm talking about is not aggressive. It is not threatening. It is not something that makes you go, ah, I'm afraid, right? If you're afraid, then that is not a block in an energy grid. Okay. That is something on the land that, or, whether it is an energetic or a person or an entity that is being threatening towards you. If you're dealing with something that is an energy grid issue, it will feel stuck and wrong. It'll feel like, oh, this is not what this is supposed to be. Not wrong as in a, dangerous wrong or a, supernatural wrong. It'll feel just like something ain't right here, right? And it'll feel stuck.
Like stale.
And so, yeah, exactly. Stale, like stagnant, right? There's no flow, right? And so when that is what's happening, that's when it's an energy grid issue. And that's when simply just doing some work to move the energy through the grid. I've run across an energy grid issue maybe twice in my life. Okay. So they're not common, but, especially with climate change and all the stuff that's going on, my gut is that it's happening more often now than it was back in the day. Right. Just because there's so much stuff that's messing with this system. right? And the change in temperature and the melting ice caps and all the stuff is just shifting things in the system enough, and the moving of the poles, the magnetic poles, all of this is it creates dis-ease in the system, right? And we know when there is dis-ease in the energetic system, there can be disease in the body, and in the energetic grid will reflect that. And so, what we're looking to do is, if we run into these things in these places, to help to shift that energy. Okay, so this is a service that you can do for the world if you happen to find it. I wouldn't recommend going looking for it, because it's a big world. and there's small places where this is a problem, right? But if you happen upon it, then it's a service you can do that doesn't require a huge amount of effort to do and is beneficial to the planet, right? If you want to be beneficial to the planet right now, in general, I would say don't take all the negative crap and ground it into the earth right now. She's got enough of her own stuff to deal with. She doesn't need ours too. So I would take the crap and cleanse it before I ground it, because she's got her own stuff, right? So how do we cleanse before we ground, right? So let's ask that question, because that's relevant, right? So let's talk about what's the difference there between cleansing and grounding. So cleansing is the transmutation of the energy that is the stuff you're trying to get rid of, right? So if you've got anger or upset or ick or sickness or, sadness or grief or, anything that you're trying to let go of, right? Or that you pull off of a client if you're working as a healer, right? Anything like that. If you're trying to pull it out, then it needs to be transmuted before it is grounded. So the transmutation process is very simple. It's just taking off the predominant emotion from the energy before grounding the energy. And so it's not even taking off is probably the wrong word. It's more like shifting the predominant energy, because it's all different vibrations, right? So you don't have to take anything away. You don't have to move anything, or you're like, okay, I pulled all of this grief. Let's say grief, because I've been I've been running into a lot of people who are losing family members recently. So let's use grief as an example. And so let's say you pull a lot of grief out of someone, or you release a lot of your own grief into your room as you're grieving. And now you want to clear your space, right? So you've got all of this grief energy in the room, but you don't want to hand Mother Earth grief right now. She's got enough grief, right? So what you do instead is you gather the energy up and you just shift the energy. You add a little bit of your energy into the mix to shift the energy to neutral. So the energy of grief is very slow and heavy, right? And it has this sort of energy of waves. It comes in waves. It comes and goes, right? And so you tune into that energetic that you've got, and what you're going to do is you're just going to take a little bit of effort on your part and just shift it to neutral before you ground it, and be like, okay, this is heavy and weighty and energy, and now it's going to be neutral energy, and I'm just going to and shift it to neutral before I ground it. Okay. Then you're not having to get rid of any dominant emotion. You're not having to do anything with the emotion. You're just shifting the vibration, the quality of the vibration of the energy that is in your space to something else, right? And so you can do that. Now, why would I still ground it once I've already transmuted it? Which I'm hearing somebody ask that question, so you're welcome. The reason that I would do that is because there can be echoes of if you're not totally perfect with it. There can be echoes of the original vibration that, because it's your emotion, you might pull back into being as the original emotion because you were connected to it first. So I would still ground that energy for that reason. And because if you're pulling it off of somebody else, then there could be echoes of their energy within that. And just because you've changed the predominant energy of the energy ball that you have to a neutral space doesn't mean that their energy signature isn't still sort of, subtly in there. And you don't want to take on that, right? Because it can come with other things, especially because we're empaths, if there's an echo of their energetic in there and we tap into that, then we might just tap directly into them. And then we might pull up more of their crap in, and we don't want to be doing that. So that's why you ground it, even though you've cleared it. Okay. You've taken away the predominant energy. Therefore, you're giving neutral energy to Mother Earth, and you're still giving her energy to compost and to work with, but you're not giving her the crap that goes along with it, right? So, when we're working with Mother Earth, there's a lot of different pieces and parts to consider, and especially when there is major stuff happening on the land, which there almost always is. Somewhere in the world, somebody is committing genocide pretty much all the time. Somewhere in the world, people are dying in a needless war almost all the time, right? There's somewhere in the world, there's famine. Somewhere in the world, there's sickness. Somewhere in the world, so there's always this stuff on the land, always. And so, you want to be as kind as possible to her because she's living with all of this. And then there's, the pollution and the things that we do that damage the land and, strip mining and, killing the Amazon forest and, cutting it down and whatever. I mean, we're terrible. We're terrible for the earth. We are a disease on the earth, and she is going to eradicate us if we don't cut this shit out. Right? It's just, she's like, when it hits too much, I'm just going to have enough hurricanes and enough ice age and, anything else that I need to do to just wipe out the infestation that's causing these problems, because we are the infestation, right? So let's keep that in mind when we think about doing things that the earth doesn't like.
Remember what happened to the dinosaurs? She wiped them out.
Yeah. No, actually, that was something else. But if I remember, that was a meteor, right? I'm pretty sure it was a meteor. Yeah. So big ass meteor.
Yes, but what caused the meteor?
But maybe she called it in. Maybe she just amplified that magnetic field and pulled her in with gravity. There you go.
I'm just saying.
Maybe she sent
saying she's a powerful
badass bitch, man.
being.
That's who she is. That's it. Yeah. Don't want to mess with her. So, yeah. We got a little far afield on this one. We started off a little far afield, so I don't know why we're surprised. So I want to just say this, right? When you get started in your spiritual work, one of the first things that you want to do is save the world. And that's because we all have a common mission to up-level the planet. Okay, we're already in this space. And so inherently it's in our beingness to want to do this. But I see it twisted a lot to, I'm going to kill myself to make sure the planet is better. I'm going to spend all my time working on this. I'm going to, dedicate myself to making Mother Earth better and all of this stuff. One person cannot do that. I don't care how much energy you're running. You are one out of almost 8 billion people on the planet. And we are teeny tiny compared to the earth. It is ego folly to think that you can have an impact by yourself. Okay. So why do we do this? Because if we all do this, then it has an impact, right? That's why we do it. And so I would say, don't get overly attached to this idea of healing the earth, because that is an ego folly piece. You are one person, And one person is not going to be able to accomplish that. Now, could you have a section of the earth that is yours to work on? You have X amount of land that you feel like you are curating and that's yours to do? Absolutely. That is absolutely something that a single person could do. But to say, I am healing the earth is, I don't think even if you spent an entire lifetime trying to do it, there would be, you would not have enough time or days or energy to be able to move the needle enough to make it worthwhile, right? So just try not to overblow what you're doing, right? I would much rather you spend your time really focused on clearing your own limiting beliefs and opening up your own power centers and being able to clear your own energy field and tapping into the ability to connect with others and, work in unison. I would so much rather you do that than try and do something like this, because that's a resistance. Trying to do something that is too big for one person to do and trying to do it all yourself, or even to, say, this is what I'm doing, and then other people will do it too, and it'll be okay. The scale is so big, and having traveled to 14 different countries, I really get how big the world is, right? Because I have traveled hours and 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 still only gotten about a quarter of the way around the world, right? Or maybe halfway, but not even half, right? So the world is massive. And that was in one circumference, right? That was not the totality of the earth, right? It's so big. So, stay away from trying to do things at that scale, because unless you're working with a very large group of people who are very focused, and you're working in smaller groups that are connected together into bigger groups, you really don't have a chance of having an impact at that scale, right? Now, you can do a lot for yourself, right? But the larger scale stuff, you've got to let happen. Now, some people are going to be saying, oh, well, you talked about the TikTok witches having an impact on the whole world. And I'm like, yeah, but not really. Okay, they started a cascade that had an impact on the world. That was different. And if you don't know what that's about, you can go find the episode on the TikTok witches, the baby witches on TikTok. But they started a cascade that went across tens of thousands of people and cascaded back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and eventually amplified to the point where it did have an impact on the whole planet. But they did not do that by themselves, okay? They just started a stupidity that continued, right? So that's not the same thing.
And if I remember correctly, but it not for the power of the moon and its enormous energy would have never happened, really. So it's not their individual power. It was the power of the things that they set in motion that then were amplified by those things.
No, the moon did not amplify anything. The moon reflected things. Right? So the moon reflected things, and then the reflection came back down and hit everybody's defenses who have amplifiers in their defensive fields, and who have reflectors in their defensive fields. And because they got hit by an attack, their amplifiers went off. And a lot of people have 10x amplifiers or 3x amplifiers. And so whatever they got hit with, they amplified 3 or 10 times automatically and sent it back out to the moon that reflected it back again. And it went back and forth, amplifying each time.
That was the amplifier.
It became problematic.
Okay.
Yeah, the amplifier was in the
I had it backwards.
The fields of those who have energetics that are amplified. This is one of the reasons why I don't amplify attacks, is because you don't know where it's going to end up. I'm like, nope, you can have it back, right? I actually have stopped amplifying it all. I've stopped reflecting it all. I just steal the energy. I'm like, oh, you want to attack me? Okay, I'll just steal that energy. I'll take the attack off of it and I'll just steal the energy. Thank you for the energy. I will take that and use it for my own benefit. Right. So that's part of the deal there. So, everybody has their own way of doing it. But if you're going to throw an attack at me, I'm going to keep the energy because, you would tell the trouble of throwing the attack. Why should I not? Right. Something should come out of it. I'm going to get something good out of it. Thank you very much.
Something.
Yeah. If I just send it back to you, you got what you started with, So yeah, it's like that. Anyway. So yeah, that's sort of the energy thing for the earth right now. And so when you're thinking about doing work with the earth, keep in mind that she is overtaxed. So try not to add to her overtaxedness, right? It's like when mom was at the end of her ability to cope with you, you did not mess with mom, right? Think of it that way. So, and what I'm going to say is, I want to say thank you because I just got my 2023 notes from Spotify. And they said that a lot of you have been sharing the podcast via text, via social media links, via direct link. Thank you so much. We so appreciate you for all of the ways in which you are supporting us and helping us to be heard more. And I just want to acknowledge that and say thank you from the bottom of my heart for that, because we put a lot of work into these episodes and it takes a lot of time to do that. And seeing it being shared and seeing, having people download multiple episodes. And, they even told me how many people we were their top podcast or their top 5 or their top 10. And, there's a lot. And thank you. Thank you for being that person, if that's you. And we've been trending in the Netherlands too. So if you're in the Netherlands, say hi, because I want to know who in the Netherlands has been listening so much, because we have been trending in the Netherlands and charting in the Netherlands for some time. Yeah. So, So guys, it's awesome. And I don't know if you've been on my social media, but if you go into the Spirit Sherpa by Kelly Sparta Facebook group, I posted a map of all of the places that our podcast has been downloaded. And you can see the map of the 147 countries around the world that we have been heard in. And it's really cool to look at. So it's also on my regular feed and on the channel, but I have a lot of other posts in there. So it might be harder to find because I posted it like a week or two ago. But yeah, it's fun. It's fun to look at that map. And so join the Spirit Sherpa by Facebook, Kelly Sparta Facebook group. Yeah, I can talk. And come in and check it out. You also get a chance to talk to all of the guests who've been on the show. They're all in the group. And so you can reach out and ask them questions if there's anything you want. Well, not all of them, but a lot of them are in the group. And you can reach out and ask questions and they're happy to answer them for you. So, and you can talk to some other people who are listening. And of course, as always, if you have an idea for an episode, we desperately want to hear it because after 5.5 years, the topic ideas are getting a little thin over here. So I would love to hear any ideas that you guys have for a topic for the podcast, or even for a series. I mean, I'd be happy to get an idea for a series because that makes life even easier. We love to do series here. As you well know, we've done the Chakras, we've done the 7 Deadly Sins and Virtues, we've done the Wheel of the Year, we've done... we're working on an energy healing one right now. We've done spiritual entrepreneur stuff. We've done becoming a light worker stuff. We've done, I don't even know. We've done a lot of different series. And so we love to get a new series in place so that we can have some stuff to talk about on a regular basis. So we would love to have some advice from you on that and ideas of what you'd like to learn about. So with that said, subscribe, like, share. And you guys are rocking it out on that one. And I think that's it for today. Oh, nope, you want a Kellyism, don't you? Let me think. If mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. Mother Earth.
That's right.
In this case.
Watch how you treat mama. Yes.
That's it.
All right. Well, that's all that we have time for this week, folks. Tune in next time when Kelly adds another chapter into your guide to energy, magic, and the spirit world. I'm Jules, here with Kelly, Sparta, and you have been listening to Spirit Sherpa. All right, y'all. So long.
Bye.
Driving down the road, eyes on the horizon. Within my car, I'm all alone, but feeling good and feeling strong, knowing that this path I'm on brings me to myself. I'm driving, wondering where my spirit will. I'm driving.